tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting. Sean's inside fighting.
We are back with the Fight Season Podcast. It's me, Jesse Rowe, with Inside Fighting, joined as always by Timothy James, a.k.a. Timmy Shoes, coming from sunny Florida this time, not sunny Brazil. What's going on, Timmy?
Glad to be back. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and it's summer in Brazil right now, but it is winter in Florida, and it's only in the mid-50s, but it's freezing for me.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's high. It's like mid-50s. We're supposed to get like high 40s here in Los Angeles, but
wow.
People around the country probably just think we're the biggest pussies in the world complaining about 50-degree weather. But we have a lot to talk about today. But first, we got to pay the bills. We got to give a shout out to our friends over at DraftKings to tell you about this incredible offer we got going on. The thing about being a fight fan is that sometimes on a Saturday night, you watch the fights and then the next morning, you still need that adrenaline fill. So you end up watching some NFL football to get that fix. And lucky for you, we've actually partnered up with DraftKings, who's an official partner of the NFL. And if you're a new DraftKings customer, you can go to DraftKings Sportsbook now, bet $5 of your own money. You get $150 of bonus bets instantly just by using promo code INSIDEFIGHTING. And if you're already signed up for DraftKings, you get a no sweat bet, meaning you get your bonus bets back if your same game parlay doesn't hit. It's an awesome deal. Best thing about DraftKings is that there's plenty of options for you. So if sports betting is not yet available in your state, do not worry. You can still go to DraftKings Daily Fantasy and get in on all the action there. So go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers who use promo code INSIDEFIGHTING bet $5, you get $150 of bonus bets instantly. That's promo code INSIDEFIGHTING, bet $5, get $150 of bonus bets instantly. Timmy, there's no bigger story in the fight game right now than Ian Garry's personal life, and we've done this before where we've talked about like Logan Paul's situation with his fiancée Nina Agdal. This is a whole new spin on it. I'm guessing you've seen the story at this point where it's come out where MMA fans have sort of raised some concerns about Ian Garry's relationship with his older wife. She is 14 years older than him. She's 40 years old. He's 26. And they believe that he was co-opted into a relationship, basically. Yeah. And, many have weighed in. First, before we get into all the takes from, UFC champions and others, what is your take on the situation?
Clearly, the MMA fans have Ian Garry. They want what's best for Ian Garry. They're doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They have no intent of in front of this situation. There will be no use of any words that start with C. And I commend the MMA community for getting behind Ian Garry to try and save him from this allegedly hairy situation.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, most of you watching this do know, but Ian Garry's wife, her name is her maiden name, I believe or not maiden name. She has two names. I don't know which is her legal name, but her name is Layla Machado. She's also known as Layla Ann Lee. And she used to work for OK Magazine like 15 years ago, right? It might have been longer. I don't know exactly when, which is like a gossip column, obviously. Gossip rag mag, as we call them here in the States. And she wrote...
I've never heard that. A rag mag.
A rag mag, yeah. It's just like... It's the rags, man. It's just like it's garbage. It's the rag mag. You pick it up off
Gotcha. Okay,
and she wrote a pamphlet about that's called "How to Be a Wag," which stands for Wives and Girlfriends, which is basically how to get into a relationship with and secure the relationship with a up and coming star athlete, young up and coming star athlete primarily. And quote unquote, secure the bag. How do you meet them? How do you get into a relationship with them? How do you marry them? How do you have kids with them? And how do you secure the money that they're going to get in their career? Basically, that's what the context of this is. And so people are concerned that Ian Garry is a victim of this woman, that he was basically kind of groomed a la Rose Namajunas, even though the age gap isn't there. I mean,
not quite.
The age underage aspect of that isn't there. However, he was still 21 when they met, 20 when they met or something, and she was still 16 years older than him. So fans started to raise this suspicion that she had actually kind of duped him to a relationship. And who comes to his defense? UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland makes an Instagram post about it, and this story fucking blew up. It absolutely blew up, and it went crazy. We'll show the Strickland video really quick.
You guys, I never talk about anybody's spouses, but this ain't right. It ain't right. I gotta talk about it. Ian Garry, I remember when I met you, dude. It was in New York. You were this fine-ass girl. She had the little nipple coverings. We all seen it, right? Everybody seen it. But I remember thinking to myself, there ain't something right about that girl. Now I'm finding out you're 26. She's 40. The ex-husband lives with you. You took the last name. Motherfucker, she wrote a book on how to be a wag. I didn't even know what a wag was until now, dude. This ain't right, dude. She's a succubus. You gotta run away, bro. Hot girls are a dime a dozen. We'll get you one. We'll get you ring girls. We'll get you two at the same time, bro. You gotta pull the ripcord, man.
So Strickland posts the first video, and then he makes another video like a couple hours later saying that Ian Garry actually threatened to sue him for saying that he needs to get out of his relationship with his wife.
Y'all will not believe what just happened. So I'm a homie, right? And I send Ian Garry a message. And I'm like, bro, hey, here's the thing, man. Dicks before chicks, dude. I know you're going through some right now. I know that you got preyed upon. I know all this bro, and I'm here for you. Just give me a call if you need me. And this motherfucker, he says, I'm going to sue you if you don't delete that. You're going to sue me, motherfucker. He said that I was lying. I ain't lying. You are 26. She is 40. She wrote a book on how to be old and be with a young athlete.
Basically implying that like there's still time for you. You need to get out of this. Basically kind of echoing the chorus of fans saying that you are basically, you have been, what's the word for it, Timmy? Like what do people think is going on here exactly?
Well, I mean, there is a detail that you left out, that his nutritionist is Layla's ex-husband. And apparently he lives with them or close to them or something.
Layla made a video about that. She said that he doesn't live with them. In her video, she also explained that she she wrote this book, How to Be a Wag, for OK Magazine, which is like a 9-10 page pamphlet or something that she wrote as like she says it was a joke for OK Magazine, sort of like a social experiment for like a column that they were writing or something. I don't know the exact context of it. Like, let me just say this before there are too many people that just think that this is bullshit. Let me just say, I worked in news media for 10 years or longer than that, like 12 years. It is not that absurd that she would write that book for that specific reason. Because, I mean, look at like the movie, what's it called? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's kind of like the same concept, right? Where there's like a rag mag writer who comes up with a concept of, it's like a social experiment that's intended for news purposes. That being said, it just seems odd that the woman who wrote it, she's literally practicing what she was preaching. That's the thing about it. She's literally doing the exact thing she was writing about. So it's hard to say that it was totally innocent. It seems like there's some weird connective tissue here.
It's like, didn't O.J. Simpson write a book or almost publish a book that was like, I didn't do it, but if I did, here's how I would have done it.
It's literally called If I Did It. And what's funny is when the people who published that book, that's my favorite part of it. They published it where the words are just huge. It says, I did it. And then right above I is a tiny little if.
That's smart.
My favorite part, yeah.
But it is a weird situation. I don't know. They seem happy. They seem like a nice couple, but I guess the term would be gold digger, right? She's a gold digger. She's trying to get his money, something like that. That's what they're accusing her of. And Ian is very defensive about it.
Yeah.
So much so that, I'm a little surprised about the reaction he had about supposedly saying he's going to take litigation against Sean Strickland. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, and the screenshot, he basically said that Strickland is I think it wasn't so much about it was a defamation argument. It is that you're basically you're defaming my wife, in turn you're defaming me. Remember, when they met, Ian Garry was not a household name in any way, shape, or form. There was he was a Cage Warriors fighter, I believe, when they met, because she is from Ireland as well. She's half Brazilian, half English, but she grew up in Ireland. I don't know if I have those details exactly right. But so Ian Garry was just a guy at the time. Like, I mean, I guess you could argue maybe she just always wanted to be with an athlete. But, fighters, like, it's very hit or miss. Like, talented fighters don't always get paid a lot of money. So it's like,
exactly.
If you're targeting an athlete to try to get rich, I don't know if fighting is the right type of athlete to target.
Especially MMA.
Yeah.
But maybe it was a situation where people were calling him the next Conor McGregor, who happens to be the richest MMA fighter ever. And she was like, if there's a chance,
That's actually a great point to me. It's totally possible that growing up in the SGB Ireland scene, maybe like people are talking, people are saying, oh, this here, Ian Garry, he's the next big thing. He's the next Conor. They're going to love him. And then she sees Conor on Lamborghini yacht, driving around off the coast of Sicily. And she's like, well, if he's the next Conor, then yeah, I guess that does make sense. That being said, I don't know how to feel about it. I feel uncomfortable with fighters getting into other men's wives, children, things like that. It feels a little detached from the whole point. You're fighting the guy, you're not fighting the woman. You're kind of ruining her life a little bit. But that being said, I mean, this is part of it. Here's what Ian Garry should do. Just remember this, and I want to clip this part. Ian Garry should not have threatened to shoot Sean Strickland. Ian Garry should have threatened to fight Sean Strickland, because Sean Strickland is the UFC middleweight champion, who also happened to fight and rise the ranks in welterweight. So it's not like it's out of the question that these two could ever fight each other. It's absolutely within the realm of possibility. I think Ian Garry should have said, hey, fuck, after my next fight, after your next fight, if you lose, I'll come up to middleweight, like whatever. Just you think that the UFC wouldn't make this happen?
Yeah. And
they would make it a pay-per-view. It would be so big. You know what I mean? It would be huge.
Strickland said something similar too. He was like, listen, I would have respected you more if you wanted to throw down, or like you threatened me with violence. Instead, you're threatening me with a lawsuit. What the fuck's that?
He also said, I would have respected you more if you would threaten like to literally pull a gun on me. Which, by the way, a little side note here, Sean Strickland also made the news because he pulled a gun on a man who broke onto his property the other day. Did you see that?
I saw a clip. I didn't catch all of the context. I was scrolling Twitter. I couldn't listen to it with sound because I was with my son, but I saw that he pointed a gun. I saw some comments. People were like, Sean Strickland wants to be John Jones so bad. And so I wasn't sure what was happening. I wasn't sure if Sean did something wrong, if someone broke into his house.
No, so a guy who was drunk driving in his neighborhood ended up shredding his tire on like a curb or something in Sean Strickland's neighborhood. And then apparently it was a domestic violence situation where he actually just beat his girlfriend. And so he was like trying to get away from like security or something like that. And he ended up like pulling his car over, and then he was trying to hide from security. He picked the absolute wrong house to hide in somebody's driveway. You picked Sean Strickland, like he picked the wrong UFC fighter's driveway to hide in. You know what I mean? There are literally hundreds of other UFC fighters that would have handled this situation much better for this guy. Sean Strickland comes out with he has a protected carry license, obviously. So he's a registered gun owner, a legal registered gun owner, comes out with his gun to defend his property. He thinks the guy's breaking into his property. He saw it on the Ring camera that this guy was on his driveway. So he's rightfully defending his property and goes out there and fucking pulls the gun on this guy, gets him in the street, and helps the security get the cops called on him. So in this situation,
this is in California too, right?
yes, I think so. Yeah, I think that's where he lives. So he
so.
took down a perp, took down a domestic abuser, took down a guy that broke onto his property, and he finally got to pull a gun on somebody, which Sean Strickland is like, that's his dream. So
he was probably sitting watching his ring light with his gun in his hand, just waiting for that moment, and it finally happened.
That's hilarious, bro. I just thought of this. Sean Strickland doesn't watch TV. He watches his security. That's what Sean Strickland does when he's at home. He just stares at his ring camera footage all night. He doesn't watch TV. Sean Strickland doesn't watch the news. Are you kidding me? Not in an incredible place. Is Ian Garry at the UFC 296 press conference with Colby Covington and Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson? It's going to be madness really quick. What do you think is going to happen at the UFC 296 press conference?
I don't know, man. I think he's going to get asked a lot of questions, and I think eventually he's going to just be like, there's going to be a moment where, I don't know if he's going to, explode or his gasket's going to pop or what, but there's going to be a moment where he's like, I'm tired of getting asked about this. Maybe he says, maybe he flips off a reporter, maybe he gives it to a fan, because there'll be fans asking questions too. So,
well,
the fan, like, does Layla's ex-husband, make you sit when you pee or something like that? So,
well,
there are going to be questions like that.
You're missing the key element here, which is the fact that Colby Covington will be on stage with Ian Garry, and Colby is going to have to do a juggling act where he's going to have to make jokes about the Revolutionary War and about how America defeated the UK, because he's fighting Leon Edwards, obviously. But then he's going to have to also juggle the fact that a guy in his division, a guy that's potentially going to be challenging for a title very soon, Ian Garry, is potentially a cuck, as the internet likes to call him, and a
dynamic as well, because he's fighting Leon, and Leon kicked Ian out of his gym. So there's going to be a whole storm for Ian to deal with.
Ian Garry, and he might be getting bullied at this press conference. It's a bad spot to be. I've seen some great memes online about it, about Ian Garry's mind, before walking into the press conference. But either way, that will be appointment viewing, must see TV. I'll be locked into that press conference, and it's always great when the press conference is going to generate as much hype as the fight. That's how a card is really good.
I will say one last thing about this whole Ian Garry saga with his wife is that I think it's good drama. It gets people talking, it gets people interested. People love the shit stirring and stuff. But it does kind of suck that it's like, this is a young, really talented guy. He's up on the rise. He's undefeated. Like, we should be talking about his fights, but instead we're talking about this. There is a part of me that's like, oh, that kind of sucks. It's like, he's an amazing athlete. He's a great fighter, and he's a really nice guy.
What's gonna get him past it? It is knocking out Vicente Luque.
Yep.
Knock out Vicente Luque, put on a great show. People will still make jokes about you online, but it all fades away at some point. It's like, if you really love the girl, if you're really in love, and they have a kid together, they're a family. Hey, it's like, there's only so much that you and I can say about it, but the fighters can make jokes all they want. But you're absolutely right. It's like, it's his personal life. Just go out there and knock out your opponent, keep putting on great performances, and people will start to take you more seriously again. So,
couldn't agree more.
Let me tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting, Sean's inside fighting.